Cable put.
Good evening, sir. Gautam, sir.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Venkateswara garu, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have a meeting with directors of Bangalore and Hyderabad. Otherwise, I would have.
There is another session also going on regarding
Oh.
electives.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Many of the MBAs are there in that session.
Okay, that's good.
Sir, can I start now?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rajeshwari, and I would like to welcome you all in our webinar on supply chain management in FMCG. So, today companies are not competing for brands. All the companies are competing with supply chain. The better distribution channel one has, so the better it can penetrate into the market. So, importance of smooth distribution channel was felt during the lockdown, where we faced shortage of products in some areas and due to the transportation restrictions. So hence it becomes very important for us to understand how supply chain works and how it manage in all the situations like pandemic. So to make us understand about it, we have the supply chain vice president of Norishco Beverages Limited, and which is subsidiary of Tata Consumer Product, He endowed with a passion for winning as evinced through 13 years experience encompassing supply chain management, logistics distribution and transportation, demand planning, operations management, warehouse management and team management skills and FMGC domain. He had various roles in companies like PepsiCo, Britannia, Escar. So please welcome our chief guest, Mr. Rayapati Srinath Reddy. And we have our director sir here. So welcome sir, welcome to our webinar. Yajju Gautam Rao sir holds the MCom degree from Andhra University and was a gold medalist for having stood university first. He did his PhD from the same university in financial management in public sector undertakings. Sir, it's my honor to welcome you both for our webinar. So I would like to request our director sir to speak some words. Thank you, sir. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, Rajeshwari, you are audible. Just repeat, I guess, once again.
Okay, so it's my honor to welcome our director, so give our speech.
Okay, now he's, I guess, he's putting his
Okay.
earphones.
Sorry for the inconvenience, sir.
Gautama sir, am I audible?
Not audible for him. He's having some technical problem. He's joining again.
Okay.
Oh, so I think we can start with our chief guest, sir.
1 minute.
Okay, sir.
Has joined again.
I think so.
Yes, sir.
He joined.
Yes, sir. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So I'm Rahul Pridarshi from GSBB, from operations, and that is why
Okay.
eagerly waiting for the presentation also. That's all. Okay then, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yep. Hi, Rob.
You are audible now, sir.
Yeah. In fact, I can hear you also.
Yes, sir. You can speak a few words about our institute, sir.
Has sir come? Reddy, sir? Yes, Srinath Reddy, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, Reddy Garu.
Good afternoon, sir.
And my colleagues in gym and student friends. I was excited when I saw the invitation from Venkateshwar Garu, that today, on a Saturday weekend, there is a Zoom meeting between 4 and 5 on analytics. And it is always a pleasure speaking with practitioners. Srinath Reddy Garu has been in industry for some time. So you always get useful insights from speakers from the industry, probably which we won't get in our textbooks. Textbook material is different. And in particular, analytics is something that is catching up thick and fast.
Sir, he is from supply chain.
Oh, supply chain, but will he be concentrating on some analytics, or is it pure supply chain management?
It's pure supply chain, basically. I was told to talk about supply chain and FMCG, basically. So that's what.
Okay, great. Okay. So it is all supply chain in FMCG. Srinath Garu, Geetam Institute of Management has been in existence for 34 years. I think it's next to engineering, every other institute has come up later. And we have 3 business schools now based in Bangalore and Hyderabad. Hyderabad Business School, Geetam deemed it to be university, and Bangalore School of Business also based out in Bangalore. Rahul, I can see Rahul here, is a faculty for us in supply chain management in Bangalore. We have a lot of faculty in supply chain management. Venkateshwar Garu, are they joining?
Yes, sir, they will be joining.
Okay. Right. We have a master's program in supply chain management. Earlier, we used to call it as global logistics and supply chain management. And then this comes under the Department of Operations. GYM has been growing. Lots of new programs are being added in both UG and PG. In the case of MBA, we are trying to rationalize by, instead of offering several MBAs, we are planning to have 1, 2, 3 MBAs, but with different electives. And obviously, logistics and supply chain management is going to be one of the electives. Supply chain management is gaining momentum in India.
Right.
FMCG is my favorite group, Andi Reddy Garu.
Absolutely.
Because FMCG and pharmacy are considered as evergreen. Even because I teach finance. When I teach finance, I normally say, whenever you have any uncertainty where to put your money, put it in FMCG and pharma. Of course, pharma has gained a lot more momentum due to the pandemic. FMCG, you got exciting companies. The only disappointing company is ITC. It's really causing. It's causing a lot of frustration to the investors. Share price is not going anywhere because of the the legal restrictions on consumption of tobacco, and government is discouraging. And ITC, the main revenue generator, is tobacco. So except FMCG, everything else is doing very well. So and also students, whenever they get a job in FMCG, they get excited because there are great brands in FMCG.
Absolutely.
So definitely it will be useful for all of us through Reddy Garu, the FMCG. And probably with this kind of knowledge, when the placement season begins, I hope and pray that students will take advantage of that. Venkateshwar Garu, you need to arrange more and more of these useful sessions. I think with this, without much ado, I request Srinath Reddy Garu to proceed. The only thing, sir, is you have to excuse me because I got a meeting at 4:30 with my counterparts in the other 2 institutes. Thank you.
No problem, sir. No problem. Thanks for a wonderful introduction, sir. And it's my pleasure to be here. And good evening once again to everyone. So you're looking at Srinath. So people call me Srinath. So and some people who are fond of me call me Sri. So that's how I come to know about in the industry. So just to give a brief introduction about myself. Basically from
1 minute, sir. Reddy Garu, 1 minute. Our people will introduce you.
Sure.
Yes. Rajeshwari.
Yes, sir. Is it audible, sir, now?
Yes.
Oh, very much.
Okay, sir. So to make us understand about it, we have the Vice President of Norishco Beverages Limited, which is subsidiary of Tata Consultancy Product. He endowed with the passion of winning as evidenced through 13 years experience encompassing all the supply chain management, logistics distribution, transportation, demand planning, operations management, warehouse management, and team management skills in FMCG domain. He had various roles in the companies with a great experience like Britannia, PepsiCo, Escor. So we are so glad that you are here, sir, and please welcome to give thoughts and speech to us, sir. We are very grateful and thank you, sir.
Thanks, Rajeshwari there for their
Srinath, before you unleash your knowledge on us, PepsiCo, is it Varun Beverages or is it under Tata Consumer?
PepsiCo is currently under Varun Beverages. That is only the beverages portion of PepsiCo. So that went into Varun Beverages only in 2019.
Okay.
And the foods part of it, which is basically the Frito-Lay, is still with the S12 PepsiCo currently.
Oh, okay, great. Because they have actually invested in other countries as well to promote as a soft drink seller, bottler.
Absolutely. So he's one of the biggest bottlers for Pepsi, and now currently all the beverages, the total beverage business of India for PepsiCo is taken care by Varun Beverages now. Okay. So that's right. And if it may be glad, it is one of the good shares to invest as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, being a finance guy, I think this is something I usually follow once in a week.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Please start, sir. Thank you.
Sure. So I just wanted to have, I wanted to start with a brief introduction about myself. So I have a purpose for giving this introduction. So I'm basically from Hyderabad. So I did my schooling in a very remote village, I can say now town, of Mandamari in Adilabad district. So I did my schooling from 1st to 10th in that particular school. I was a state topper in 10th class. Then I went on to do my intermediate, what we call in Andhra, in +1, +2, as usual through Sri Chaitanya. And basis that, I didn't get into IIT. Okay, so I ended up with a rank of 2993 and a better rank in MSET at that point of time. So I've chosen NIT Bhopal. I did my mechanical engineering, which was my dream, branch of engineering. And that's where I ended up as a mechanical engineer and way back in 2005. And with that, with the uncertainty in the market, basically, I had to choose the first company which is on the campus, basically the Tata Consultancy Services, and worked with them for 2 years. And after that, I realized that this is not my cup of tea. That's when I had to do the MBA. Like I was interested in going for MBA, and I've given CAT with a 99.1 percentile, and I got through NITI. That was a lone call for me. I didn't have any IIM calls at that point of time. Converted NITI and joined NITI, and that was a dream come true for me. So as a mechanical engineer, it is one of the mecca, we can call that mecca of supply chain is NITI, and that's where I got into the dream institute. And with that, I thought the half battle is already won, but I was wrong at that point of time. That's where the total the small steps towards the supply chain has started. So started getting into the world of supply chain, which was very new to me. Then did my summers with Procter & Gamble, again FMCG there. And then winters was with ICI Paints, even though I went away from FMCG, but it was basically into manufacturing. And finally had to join SR Group as part of their mobile store, but with the advent of situations in that time, at around 2009, they had to put me in as steel. And even though I was reluctant in working in steel industry for almost 3.5 years, I had to compromise myself and I had to work there. And that's when the break came to me in form of PepsiCo. And without much ado, I had to take up that opportunity and joined as a regional logistics manager in PepsiCo for the Frito division. And I never had to turn back. And at that moment, I have decided myself that I will not be taking any changes from the sector, and FMCG sector is one of the exciting sectors, and that's when I had to stick to that sector. So that was the importance of FMCG sector. So why FMCG sector? We'll get into that details shortly. So I have a small presentation. Even though I'm not a PPT person, I prefer to use a presentation as a tool for flow. I hope you don't mind. I'm sharing my PPT. Right. So before I venture into that presentation, just the rules is that So just request everyone to be interactive, and at any point of time you need or you have to ask something, please feel to ask, because we have only a small slot of 1 hour. So this time will not be sufficient if I start speaking. So wherever you have any doubts or queries, or you want to ask something very specific, you can always stop me and you can ask the question, please. So having said that rule, so getting into the flow, basically I'm planning to touch upon, this is the flow I have planned for the evening. And I will just touch upon what is FMCG. Of course, most of you already know what is FMCG, and next topic will be like I will be delving into what is supply chain. Again, most of you already know what is it. So, but a thing which is not taught in the books or not known to the people who are reading or understanding supply chain is the challenges, the real life challenges that we as supply chain practitioners come across in the real world. That is what I'm touching upon, and also the way forward. And these things are not taught anywhere. This way forward is basically the real world, the technologies that are being implemented. And once you get into this sector, you will take some time to get into that thing. So without much ado, like getting into the sector, what is FMCG? FMCG is a fast-moving consumer goods, which is basically comprises of a lot of brands. As you see, the day-to-day brands that you use, be it be hair care, personal care, or your foods and beverages, and your commodities like milk and water, etc. All this comes under FMCG. Basically, the products which can be kept or sold through a traditional retail store, that can be called a FMCG product. Okay, so it is. You can see that. I'll just use my pointer. You can see that currently we have the FMCG sector or market in India is around $68 billion.
Sorry to interrupt, but are you sharing your screen, because we are not able to see anything?
Is it? So others are able to see that? I thought I have already shared it. I was sharing the screen.
No, sir, actually.
No, is it? 1 second. Thanks for that. 1 second. Just let me know if you are able to see my screen now.
Yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Sure. Thanks for that. Otherwise, I thought I was already sharing the screen. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So this will be the flow as I was talking. So first we'll touch upon what is FMCG as a sector, then what is supply chain management, then the real world challenges that we face as a supply chain practitioner in FMCG, and the way forward. What are the best practices that we could be implemented, even in terms of the practices or the process flows or the digitization of the same, of the processes. That's the way forward that we are proposing for the day. And even though I've kept Q&A at the end, we'll have the, as I was setting the rule, you can stop me at any point in time and ask a question, please. So as I was talking, and let me take the pointer once again, sorry. So you can see that through the infographic that is there on the right-hand side, you can see that way it is growing. It is growing at a CAGR of almost like 23%. And that is the beauty of this industry. And a lot of competitors are entering into this industry. And it is that is the reason why this is one of the largest sectors in Indian economy. That is currently it is at 4th largest sector in Indian economy. And going forward within the next 2 years, it is expected that FMCG market of India will be the 5th largest market in the whole world. That's the size of the FMCG market that is there as a potential. That is the potential for the world players who are trying to enter Indian market. And if you get into the FMCG sector, the household and personal care segments, they lead that. Almost 50% of that is held by these two household and personal care, and the balance is taken up by hair care, which is 23%, and food and beverages is at 19%. And the reason for this growth or this spurt in the FMCG sector is because of the availability of technology. Basically, most of the Indians are coming online, be it be mobile or be it be internet. And the usage of technology has been like even a kid nowadays say that they are coming up with the are born with the technology in hand. Basically, a mobile phone or an iPad or a computer. Everyone knows. Even my kid who is just 3 years old knows how to use a laptop. So that's the advent of technology that is coming into the field, and that is the reason why this FMCG is growing at that particular pace. And one more sector which is actually fueling this growth is the rural population. So all this while the urban population, which contributes to almost like 25 to 30%, and this number keeps on changing. But the rural population was the population which was not into the foray, and even the logistics or the supply chain is not so prevalent or not so developed that the FMCG FMCG companies were able to cater to the rural population. But with the advent of technology, that is possible. That is made possible now, and that we will see how that is being done. Now most of the FMCG companies are trying to target this rural population. And that there is a reason for it. That is because it forms 70% of the total population lives in rural India now currently. And you can see the rural FMCG market through this infographic, that the pace that it is growing. It is expected to touch $220 billion. $220 billion, you don't believe, by 2025. That is where the total the market of FMCG is going to concentrate in the next 5 years. Having discussed something about FMCG, even though it is not exhaustive, we will discuss what supply chain is. Most of you already know what supply chain is. It's a network basically between the company and its suppliers, consumers, who are the partners who are involved in that process, specifically to produce or manufacture and distribute that particular product or service, so that the end consumer is able to utilize that or consume that particular product or service. That's supply chain. And management of this is nothing but a supply chain management. And there are various entities which is not exhaustive and limited to the vendors, the warehouses, the transport partners, the distribution centers, and retailers. And the supply chain management, why it is important? It is important because from a FMCG perspective, it is very, very critical, because it results in lower cost. There is a cost efficiency which is required, because all the FMCGs have high volumes and low value. That is the main thing. It is high volume and low value products. So that's the reason why each penny counts. Be it be the marketing budget, be it be the sales D&A which is given to the retailers, or be it be the warehousing and transportation cost, which is basically the supply chain cost. These are to be kept minimum so that the companies make margin. So that's the reason why supply chain management is very critical from the point of view to ensure that the cost efficiency is there, and also there is a faster connectivity of the goods from the point of production or manufacture to the consumption point. That's where the importance of supply chain lies in, and that is the reason why all the supply chain practitioners have got so much of importance in any value chain. This is the main topic for today. Basically, these challenges that we as practitioners face in FMCG. These are some of the factors which are shown on the screen, but these are not limited to that. So first and foremost, and the most important one, is the availability of the product on the shelf. That is the most critical point of view. That is the most critical point for supply chain. Basically, what is the product that is getting manufactured? In order for that value to be realized, that has to be available on a shelf so that the consumer can pick it up and consume it. That's when the company will be able to realize its margin or value of the product. So that's where the supply chain comes into picture. So we need to ensure that the cycle, the lead time, which is between the procurement or the production or the warehousing, etc., we need to condense this lead time and ensure that the product reaches very fast to the market, and ensure that it is available in the product for the consumer to consume that. So that is where this particular challenge is available. Why it is a challenge? Because of the diverse nature of the retail outlets that we have currently. We have traditional trade, we have the modern trade channel, we have the rural Gaon Chalo channel, where we ready sale channel, what we call that. So with the plethora of channels that are emerging, and also the online channels coming up, e-commerce channels which are coming up, with this plethora of channels coming up, the availability to ensure that availability across all the channels in equal quantities or as per their contribution to the business is pretty critical for the supply chain manager. And as I was discussing, the second point is the complex distribution system. So as you know, the supply chain might start with the suppliers, or it might start with the production manufacturing guy, or it might be a part of the warehousing where the stocks are kept, and then after that they are distributed to the retail outlets for consumption. So that is a complex distribution system, and we need to ensure the supply chain has to be equipped or endowed with different modalities to ensure that they are able to take the advantages of economies of scale. That is where the complex distribution system comes into picture. And the freshness, the next thing is the freshness. For example, when we go to a market and when we want to pick up a product from the shelf, we always look at the freshness, how fresh the product is. That is the main thing, and that is where the point of contention will be between competition will be between the various FMCG competitors. Basically, the more fresh the product is, the more time the distributor gets to distribute that, and the consumer gets, so that he can store it and consume that product. If the shelf life is less, he will not be able to utilize that product. So that's where the freshness of the product comes into picture. And after these three main important points comes the usual external factors which contribute, which are the challenges in FMCG, is the taxation. Even though currently we are in GST, the GST structure for different products, even in the FMCG also, different products have different GST structure, GST taxations. So in order to take advantage of the lower GST taxations, the FMCG companies are grappling to introduce the healthy products into their portfolio, so that the GST the tax will get reduced on that, and the maximum value can be, or the maximum margins can be realized from that. And one more challenge that we face as a supply chain practitioners is the availability of counterfeit goods, be whatever it might be. So even if you take any product, there will be a counterfeit which will be available in the market. That counterfeit gets importance when there is a mismatch between the demand and supply. So when the demand is there and you're not able to supply, the counterfeit goods come into the picture. So that's the reason why the FMCG companies have to ensure that there is availability at all the time, 24/7. The availability is there so that the counterfeit products don't take their place and take the margin out of their business. And the opportunistic distribution channel, of course, like I assume that most of you know what is a distribution channel. Basically, let me take a step back and explain you what is a distribution channel here. So what happens in FMCG company is once the product reaches the last but one step of the supply chain, basically at warehouse. From the warehouse, the distributor pays the money to the FMCG to the company, takes the product, and he has his own warehouse. He keeps the product there, and then according to the convenience or the orders from the market, the retail outlets, he distributes that product in the retail. So this is a distribution channel. This is the traditional trade. The modern trade is where the modern trade will directly place the POs with the company and ensure that the product is supplied to the modern trade channels, and that is available on the shelves, so that any person can go at any point of time and pick up the product from the modern trade channel, not specific to any product. If he is looking for some biscuit, he can pick up any biscuit product that quenches his hunger. And one more challenge that we face, having talked about distribution channel. So one more challenge that we face is the infrastructure, the poor infrastructure that we have in the country. The be road infrastructure, the railway infrastructure, or the airways. Basically, we are not well connected as compared to the other developed countries of the world. So that is the reason why the distribution cost is so high in India compared to any other company or the developed countries like US or China. The cost the distribution cost per case, if you look at per product, if you look at it, is almost like 50% more than what for a similar rate in the developed countries. That is because the infrastructure, the delays that we have, the availability of the transportation systems, the ease of availability of the cold chains which are required for some product categories in FMCG. So that is where the infrastructure plays an important role, and it is one of the challenges that we face in FMCG. And as I was explaining before, the emergence of modern retails as well, because this is one of the challenges, because modern retails, they give importance to the people who pay them the maximum discounts. You won't believe the DMarts of the world. The FMCG company has to pay as low as 40%, as high as 40% discount to them. So any product, if it is 10 rupees to be sold on MRP, the DMart gets it at 6 rupees, and the balance, whatever is on the MRP, that the balance goes into their pocket. That's the kind of competition that we have in modern retails. And as a modern retail chain, they have the advantage, they have the upper hand, and FMCGs are trying to get the space on their shelves. That is one of the challenges that the companies are facing currently, and that is the reason why the margins are dwindling for FMCGs. And one more thing about the FMCG is most of the product in FMCG sector are seasonal. Basically, if you look at food and beverages, what happens in beverages is that it is mainly a seasonal product. In summer, we tend to go for the for soft drinks. And once the school starts, the other foods part of the business will pick up, because basically the schools, the colleges, or the offices are open, so they tend to pick up the snacks from the market. That's where the food business will pick up, albeit summer, and the beverages will pick up during the summer. So that's the product nature being seasonal, and because of this seasonality and the capacity that is available has to marry and cater to the demand in the market. So that is one more thing which is one of the challenges that FMCG sector faces because of the seasonality. And during peak periods, they have to ensure that the supply is meeting the demand. The last but not the least, what is the safety and environmental and social concern. So having to manage all the challenges which were listed above, they also have to ensure that they are meeting the environmental standards which are prescribed by the government, especially the FSSAI standards. For a food and beverages company, they have to ensure that the food that is being marketed or being sold in the market has to meet those standards. And for that, they have to spend extra money to ensure that the premises in which this particular product is being stored is clean and healthy as per the standards. So that incurs an extra cost. That is same is the case with personal care and the hair care products as well. and the social concerns are also there. Any ad or if product, if that is where the CSR activities of the FMCGs comes into picture. So in order to encourage the people to use a particular product, the CSR activities come in handy. For example, the ITC. ITC is known to be a tobacco company, even though it has a plethora of FMCG products, be it be hair care, be it be the personal brands, or be it be foods and beverages. They have plethora of FMCG products, but that is known to be a tobacco company. Here, what ITC has to do to ensure that their product gets registered in the mind of the consumer is that they do the CSR. They're compulsory. They set aside some budget to do that CSR activity, which is basically the corporate social responsibility to ensure that it gets registered in the minds of the consumers. In order to overcome that particular feeling that ITC is a majorly tobacco company, which is not the case here. So even though the CSR activities happen, and they introduced the concepts like e-Chopal from ITC, then Project Shakti from HUL, to get into the rural sectors and encourage them to help them with the technology to improve their produce, and also buying back their produce to their own factories to ensure that the connect between the rural population is kept. This is a part of this corporate social responsibility these companies have to do, so that they're registered in the minds of the people who are working there. So these are some of the challenges. So I take a break here. So this is point of our discussion. So I'm open for questions. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Devi Kumar. Good evening. And I have a question. Right, the supply chain has been disrupted during the pandemic a lot, and now it's also becoming shape, but it's still in disruption mode. And I can take some scenarios like now the Suez Canal issue has been taken, the logistics has been stopped for some days, like imports and exports in that way. And also the congestion in the shipping port areas and all. It takes more time due to the pandemic and the COVID. There are less workers compared to the previous one. So how can the FMCG can accommodate these types of disruptions, because the costing are also being increased. So it may lead to the increase in the product cost too.
Absolutely, that's a very good question. So I didn't catch your name. What's your name?
Devi Kumar, sir.
Devi Kumar, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. So that is where the concept of supply chain resilience comes into picture. Okay. So most of the companies, what they do is they always do an annual audit to find out how resilient their supply chain is. Basically, the Suez Canal is one of the events which has happened, and it has disrupted across the world. Even though you can see the effect of that on the semiconductors availability for the automobile industry, and also the congestions at various markets, basically at China, and taking up of this the shortage of containers across because of this delays. So the one way of overcoming is that to overcome this kind of disruptions is to ensure that your supply chain is very resilient. So you need to do an audit, and you need to have a backup plan for all this. So any company, for example, the companies where I have worked in PepsiCo or for ITC for brief period or Britannia, we have this business disruption model where we map it. So for example, we list down the activities which can go wrong. Might be starting with the natural calamities to the pandemics like the COVID, and also the supply chain disruptions like the Suez Canal. Even though most of the companies are based out of India, not much Indian companies were disrupted because of the Suez Canal, but that is one of the events which has happened. So we list down all these activities and we brainstorm and ensure that there is a backup plan for all this. So that's how they can ensure that the supply chain is resilient and it is not prone to such kind of disruptions. So just to quote one very good example during this pandemic. So way back, this pandemic started in March 2020, if I'm not wrong, and that's where the national lockdown was implemented. One company which stood up this particular thing and ensured that their growths are intact. And of course, they have done more than the business which they were doing for the last 5 years is Britannia. Okay, so Britannia had such a beautiful ecosystem of supply chain and the value chains that it was able to withstand that. So their supply chain is very agile and very nimble in such a way that they have stopped production of their small SKUs which are required they have started producing only large SKUs so that capacity can be used, because there were restrictions on the manufacturing time also. So only 12 hours production was made available, or they were allowed to only produce for 12 hours. But even then, after overcoming all this also, they ensured that all the shelves, wherever you go, the shelves were only available with Britannia biscuits. You can't find a you can't find a Parley or the other Duke's biscuits, which were the competitors for that particular brand. So that shows the beauty of the supply chain and the resilience that they have built up over the years. So that's the reason why local manufacturing comes into picture to be very resilient in this kind of scenarios. To pinpointly answer your question, Devi Kumar, is that your supply chain has to be very agile, nimble, and resilient for that, to take care of that unforeseen circumstances.
Yes, sir. And other small things, it's a small doubt. A company has a strategy of a agile supply chain, so they can convert into other strategies if the situations changes. They can change the strategies.
So could you be more specific, please?
Sir, actually, we have more strategies in supply chain, right? So
right.
The company mainly uses the agile and resilience mainly. So if they can change anything according to the situation.
Right. That is where. Yeah, that is one of the prerequisites of the modern supply chains, basically, to be agile and resilient. Okay, so they have to be agile, because with the plethora of SKUs that any particular FMCG has, for example, you might be hearing about Unilever's. So you won't believe they have almost like 800 plus SKUs in their portfolio, and at any point of time, if you look at their fill rate for any order, it will be more than 90%. That is the kind of beautiful supply chain they have designed. So it is not only that it is the responsibility of supply chain managers to do that, the other functions which are there in the value chain, basically the marketing, the sales, and the manufacture, the operations part of it, come together to ensure that the value chain is intact. So to answer your question about agility, the agility is about what you call to make the product available at the right time, in right quantity, and in right quality. Okay, so that is what defines the supply chain efficiency. So that is what the companies do to achieve, basically.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sure. Any more questions, please?
Sir, in continuation to Devi's question, so in my locality, like last year, I observed that the Tata salt, right?
Yeah.
So the price of Tata salt it's around 19 or 20, I guess, but it's hiked up to 40 rupees for one packet. And this was because of, there was no supply of Tata salt in my area particularly. So my question is, can you be specific that how Tata company dealt with the supply chain during the pandemic?
See, if you are very specific to the salt, you need to understand the supply chain of salt. So I'll spend a minute on that. What happens in salt is Tata has a factory on one of the coasts. I can't really reveal the name. So near one of the seas, and they have there the crude salt and the filtration of the salts and the subsequent processes happen there. And the pure form of salt, it is not packed there. The Tata salt is not packed there. So what they do is they move this salt in railway rakes, all the way from the point to the different markets in railway rakes. And once the rake reaches any particular location, so for example, I'll take the example of Hyderabad. One of the rakes reaches from the point of the raw material, basically the raw salt or the refined salt, to the location of consumption, basically Hyderabad. It takes almost like 4 to 5 days. And it has to be kept very, the quality has to be kept, because salt is such a product that it actually it attracts moisture and the salt gets spoiled. So now they have to maintain that quality also. And once it reaches the rake, almost one rake reaches Hyderabad, you need almost like 300 trucks in a matter of 24 hours. 300 trucks has to be kept near the near the railway rake, load it onto the truck, bring it to the warehouse, and they have to right away pack it to ensure that the freshness of the salt is intact. So that's the complexity of that salt supply chain. And to answer your question very specifically, yes, during the pandemic, what happened was these railway movements were restricted. From the period from March when the lockdown was announced till at least till mid of May, there was no movement of salt. All the salt, the company had huge losses because whatever the salt that was produced or manufactured or refined, so there was lying idle at that location, and we didn't find the rakes to move this. But once we had representation to the government, and once the movement started, privately, or what you call with the separate railway rakes were made available for the salt, and that was moved. Because of this scarcity and because of the extra cost that was there in this supply chain, the cost was passed on to the consumer. That's where the salt cost got increased. But as a company, I was not aware that it went up to 40 rupees. Might be a 3-4 rupees here and there. That might be the thing. But I was not aware that it went up from 20 rupees
No,
to 40.
sir. Sir. It was like selling in the black. So like
it was in
the
black.
MRP was still 20, but
right.
Yes.
So that is what I say. So that is the main reason this thing is this is one of the challenges that we face. Opportunities distribution channel. Even though the MRP on the salt packet would have been 20, because of the shortage in the market, the retail outlet was upselling it in the sense like it was selling at an increased price, but the company would not be doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Any other queries, questions?
Sir, I think we can proceed with the next topic.
So before I proceed, I just wanted to ask to just see just to understand, can some of you name some of the FMCG companies that you think of out of the blue?
Sir, HUL, ITC, Marico.
Right. Okay.
Others you can also contribute.
Nestle.
HUL.
Right.
Britannia, sir, Dabur, Amul.
PNG.
Cadbury could be a good example. Again,
right.
Tata.
Mondelez, basically.
Mondelez.
Right. TCPL. Thanks.
Marico also.
Right. Marico, PepsiCo. Right. So there is why I've asked you this question is this is one of the most fascinating sector to work in, basically. So as you guys get up for your what you call placement session, so these are some of the companies you should choose, basically. And not to entice you here, the annual increments in this particular sector are very, very what do you call are very high. I'm not getting the exact word, but it is very high compared to other sectors. You might talk about IT, it is much higher than IT. You talk about e-com, it is much higher than e-com. So the margins these companies make is much higher, and they're trying to retain a lot of good talent in FMCG sector. That's the reason why the increments are increasing day on day, and it is one of the biggest sectors currently. Of course, after e-com, that is attracting a good talent. So if you go to any IIMs, any of the top institutes, wherever you go, the first day, the day one will go to the consulting companies, but the day two will be always for the e-com and FMCGs. So some of the good companies to work for, which include are, of course, MNCs offer you a good package, but the thing is, Indian companies are not left far behind. You can choose TCPL, you can choose Dabur, you can choose the Patanjali, which is coming up very, very good now. You have Marico. Marico is one of the good companies to work for from the digitization point of view. They have beautiful processes, and it is always a pleasure to work for Marico. And you have the MNCs like HUL, as you were saying, HUL, PNG, PepsiCo, like you have Nestle. All these companies are good. So it is one of the very, 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 very lucrative sector. So having said that, the way forward, basically. So after considering the challenges that we have, the way forward that, even though it is not restricted to these three which are listed on the graph here, but there are many other policies which has to change from the government side to encourage FMCG companies to invest, or the FDI to come into the FMCG sector. The first one, to go with first one, is to improve the infrastructure first. But a lot has been done. Having said that, a lot has been done for the last 1 decade. You can see a lot of difference in infrastructure. The road infrastructure has improved a lot. The railway infrastructure has improved a lot. The onus of the government thinking that railway is one of the revenue generators for the country, that particular thing has changed the face of Indian economy. Railways being bringing the profits for the railway, the biggest employer of the world. and also the airways. Airways also changed the way they work basically in India. So that's how the infrastructure, we are on an improvement path, but there is a lot to achieve. And the workforce readiness. So as you were talking, our director was talking about analytics. Yes, analytics. Then the portion of the technology that comes into handy in terms of analytics. You have big data, you have Python. There are other technologies where you can learn, and this analytics, mind you, will help you in a lot in FMCG sector. So how does it help you? So in order to understand the demand trends, it is not one of the challenges which I said was the availability. In order to ensure that the right product is available at the right time, in the right quantity, in right quality, you need to have the analytics. The point of sale, any product is picked up. For example, any product is picked up in Ratnadeep of Dilshuk Nagar, and the same Ratnadeep in Nallagandla or BHL, wherever it is. So that particular information is going back to the company. Be it be Procter and P&G, be it be HUL, they are getting the point of sale data, and they are analyzing this, the demand trends, etc., and this analytics. They are doing that. Not only about the point of sale, and also the transportation cost and the optimization of this transportation cost. How much, what all SKUs has to be loaded, how the order size can be put so that the cost of transportation is less. And one important thing, you guys can take it as a case study for you. Try to understand the logistics network of Amazon. Okay, how they are able to manage. So for example, nowadays, if any product, if you order on Amazon, it will be at a doorstep within 24 hours. Be it be moving from Guwahati, be it be moving from Delhi to Hyderabad or Guwahati to Hyderabad, it will reach you maximum in 48 hours. That's the kind of beautiful supply chain they have set up. So that is one of your case studies. You can do that in your free time. There are a lot of research material which is available on the net. You can always go and search there. And in a similar way, FMCG is also trying a lot. There are different models, basically hub and spoke model, where P&G is known for that. What P&G does is they have the distribution centers or the manufacturing centers at different locations. One is in Baddi, one is in Bhopal. So what they do is this particular plants manufacture only some of their products. In order to ensure that all these products are available at all locations, what they do is they bring these products to one hub, basically to one warehouse. They have one big warehouse in each of the regions. If you talk about South, they have one in Hyderabad, one in Chennai. And the products come here and they get aggregated here and then they are supplied or forwarded to the retail outlets or the retail chains, the modern retail chains from that particular hub. So that is the hub and spoke model. Otherwise, if you have Amazon, it is like a distributed model. If you see any major one, metro or tier 1, tier 2 cities, currently Amazon has a warehouse. So that is the local distribution, that strength of the arm. Not only Amazon, the Flipkarts of the world are trying to get into. So they are building up warehouse at each of the tier 1, tier 2 cities and the metros, so that they ensure the availability of the goods very near to the customer and ensure that the lead time between the order to the order cycle gets contracted. So that's the beauty of a supply chain. So this is all possible because of the technology, because they have done the analytics, they have analyzed the data, where the demand is coming from and where their warehouses should be available, and what kind of technology should be available, so that the point of sale and real-time availability or the movement of the good is possible, so that the consumer can know. And that is the kind of delight that is companies are working for. FMCG is also taking baby steps towards that, to ensure that delight for the consumer, so that they come back loyally back to your SKU or the brand. Okay, so that is one of the way forward. So investment on technology and investment of infrastructure is pretty essential. So in order to talk about in marketing, we can do in terms of analytics, we can do brand analysis. How is the brand faring? The pricing strategy, what price point you should be able to introduce in the market. Competitor intelligence, what is the competitor doing and what is the price mark and what are their sales, and how it is improving their margins or the market share. Basically, this is possible by digital analytics, marketing mix or ROI, and trade promotion effectiveness. This can also be measured. If you come to the manufacturing sector, you can analyze the production efficiency. That is pretty important, because if you are using some raw materials of say 100 rupees, so then the efficiency is that you need to get a FG which is also of a value of 100 rupees. That's the kind of efficiency that is required now, so that we don't lose any margin there. and asset analytics. How is the machine utilization going on? Asset utilization is going on. So all this is being done by analytics. Then quality analytics. How is the quality of product that is being taken care? If you come to logistics, the inventory diagnostics. How many days of stock is being kept? What is the freshness of that stock? Then supply chain diagnostics. Basically, the number of days of stock available, the cost, the transportation cost, the warehousing cost. All these costs are the supply chain diagnostics, which are essential. And also the reverse logistics is very important from the point of gaining the loyalty of a consumer. So any product, if given a chance that it will be replaced in next 15 days, has a positive effect on the mind of the consumer. So that reverse logistics is also a very big opportunity area for the FMCG currently, and FMCG company is working on it. If you look at any of the FMCG company, reverse logistics was first introduced in FMCG, and even though most of the people don't know that is always prevalent in FMCG, they take back the stocks which are expired in the market and they replace with the fresh products. That's the kind of reverse logistics that the company has, and there is a cost to that. So that is the reason why we need to ensure the freshness of the product. So having said this is where the infrastructure and the readiness to adapt technology has to come in. That is a way forward for FMCG. And also collaborative planning forecasting. We call it CPFR. Yeah, is anyone saying something?
Yes, sir. I have a small question related to analytics when we are talking about analytics. So, what sort of methodologies are you using there? I mean, some advanced methods, what is there already in books such as EOQ model, linear programming model, etc., or forecasting models such as neural network, something like that, or I mean, some ready-made softwares are already there like that. Just for general.
So you have given the answer. That is, we have ready-made software. So we use integrated business planning. Okay. So all these methods that we are talking about are already integrated into that planning. So if you look at demand planning, what happens is that the data analytics is done by the system itself at a particular interval. So what we do is we take the last 52 weeks data. I'll come to that. Let me complete this. I'll come to that. What are the current trends, basically? I'll come to that. So with the interest of time, just wanted to complete this in the next 2 minutes, and I'll come to that specific question. May I know your name? Rahul. Right. So I'll come to that, Rahul. So I was talking about collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. This particular thing assures you that all the relevant stakeholders in the supply chain have to come forward or come together to ensure that the planning is done, proper planning is done, forecasting is done, replenishment is done, so that the exchange of data is the main contributor to it. And data security, in this age of internet, the data security is the most important thing. And if at all, if we lose this data, if there is a data breach, a lot of confidential data will get leaked to the competitors. So we need to ensure that the data security is of prime importance. And with the importance of analytics coming into picture, this particular data is the asset for any company. It is not the product. Going forward, the asset for any company is going to be the data. Data is going to be the asset for any company, and how they use this data is going to be the way forward for any good company, any good FMCG company. The product will take the backseat and the data will come forward, and based on the data, the products will be developed to suit the requirements in the market. So that's all I had. So coming back to your specific question, Rahul. So what we use is a IBP. I'll tell you the process. So it's a very integrated or a properly thought out process that was implemented across the FMCG companies. Any FMCG company you take, they have this IBP. What they do is, they have this 52 weeks of data, which is basically 1 year data that will be analyzed at a day level. What is the SKU that is sold in which store, in which location, and which customer has bought it. The customer profile also will be there if that particular person is buying from a modern trade retail, or if he is buying it from online. That data analytics, that kind of data will be available with us. So the company, the software, IBP software, SAP IBP, that churns the data out and gives us a forecast, saying that this should be your forecast for the next 52 weeks. So it takes last 52 weeks data and it forecasts for the next 52 weeks. It takes care of seasonality. It takes care of the one-off promotions that has been taken care. For example, TCPL has run some promo, like you buy salt, we will give you some toothpaste along with that. So that kind of promo is also taken care. And it also suggests that this kind of promo has to be introduced at this point of time. So that's the kind of forecast that company churns out. The software churns out. They use a very complex algorithm. There is no particular model which will be used. Basically, you know about machine learning, right, Rahul? So what it does is it goes for a hybrid model. Okay, it develops a lot of models and try to work out the data on this. It works out a lot of data sets on that and chooses the best model which is applicable for that particular industry or the sector. So that's what the IBP does. It has some 3-4 models at the back end, and it optimizes the engine or the data that is available, and it gives out the very optimized forecast. And mind you, there is no forecast which is always right. Forecast is never right. So that's the reason why it is called a forecast. So you won't believe the forecast accuracy of my division, which is RTD division, Narishko Beverages. It is still at 75%, even though we use the best-in-class software, because the dynamics in the market keep on changing. Okay, so once this particular, if you're interested, once this particular demand planning is done, that is what you call the salespeople in the market. They get it on their PDA. Okay, on the PDA, they get that demand which is there, or the forecast for the next 52 weeks. They can change it. Basically, they get 1 day in a month to log into the system, change their forecast accordingly, and they can't change within a specific amount or within a specific percentage only. Allowable percentage is 5% of that. They can change the forecast and submit it. That becomes the Bible for the next 52 weeks, and the backend gets activated, like RMPM procurement, the basically the availability of capacity, the capacity planning, etc., is being done. So before that, what we used to have, we used to have a process called LTCP, long-term capacity planning, which we do a forward planning for the next 5 years, assuming that there will be a operating plan for the next 5 years, the budgets basically. So this is a sale expected basis that this much capacity should be available for this SKU. So this kind of machines has to be procured. So all this forward planning happens, and now that is also being a part of the software. That is the beauty of IBP. I hope I answered your question, Rahul.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, I have worked upon a paper for forecasting in which I utilize the method called long short-term method and support vector regression. So that is how I'm assuming that IBP also captures that, as compared to, I mean, SAP software or all the ERP softwares that we have. Maybe those would be also performing analytics.
Yeah. They'll perform the analytics. That is the reason why most of our time is not spent in forecasting, but on execution, basically. So this particular ERP softwares are so costly is because of this reason only, because they update themselves. At the back end, they'll be updating the models which are coming into the industry, basically, because of the research that is being done at some of the institutes, like some of the beautiful work that is being done by the guys like you. Okay, all this research is being done, and the new models are coming into the market, and no new model will fit all the sectors. Basically, one model might fit one sector, that might not be available, or might not be fit for the other sector. So this particular software, what it does is it tries to take the advantage of the old data that is available, the previous year's data that is available, try to fit in that model. What was the forecast? How much was the actual sale that has happened? They try to bring in the factors, try to run through different models that are available, and chooses the best fit model for that. And if they choose one X model this month, it is not necessary that next month it will use the same X model. It will go for the Y model. That's the beauty of IBP.
Right, sir. Actually, what I have understood till now is that first of all, you recognize the pattern, and it depends product to product. What is the demand? How people are buying? And according to that, when the pattern is same, I mean, that particular methodology may work. But my broader...
Right. Yeah. So that is what the model tries to get that. So the model, the fitting of the model is that to understand the pattern, how is the demand playing across the sectors or the products or SKUs which are available, and then it tries to fit in the model and then throws out the forecast for the next 52 basis that particular model.
Yes, sir. So actually, I was more about a big picture of the analytics. That person who joins analytics, what he has to do on this.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sir, thank you for the answer, sir.
Sure. Thanks.
So
any other questions?
Yes, I would request participants, if they have any questions, they can unmute themselves and ask Vasu. Okay, sir, meanwhile anyone asks their question, I have also one question. So, sir, like companies like ITC and Tata as well, they are coming up with their own websites where they're selling the products directly to the consumers, D2C, right?
Right.
So my question is, now companies are selling the products directly to the consumers, and now we have like another supply chain where we have wholesalers and retailers, and it's pretty sure that retailers won't be able to match the price that the company is providing on their own website.
That's true. That's true. You are correct. So may I know your name?
The Twinkle Padarth.
Or Twinkle. Okay. So that's a very good question. So what happens is, see, when you go to a market, any person, if he logs onto a website, he will not particularly look for say a Sunfeast biscuit on ITC website. Okay, so he wants all the products to be available at one location. Basically, that is the reason why the Amazon is so successful, or Flipkart is so successful. That is because they get everything at one place. That is not the case with individual websites of ITC or Mondelez, or for that matter, TCPL also has a website, or Coke has a separate website called Coke to Home, where they supply that. But mind you, these people, this ITC same people, they ensure that the product is available on Amazon also, because they know the business that gets done through their website and the Amazon or the other online retailer is very high compared in Amazon. Okay, and the cost to service any order which comes through ITC's website is comparatively higher than what is getting serviced by Amazon, because of the economies of scale.
But okay. In spite of that fact, like I was seeing this, like, you know, ITC was sponsoring an ad in Facebook, and I was constantly getting the notification that this product is available at 20% discount, 25% discount. So being a consumer, like I don't know where this situation is going, because I think at the end retailers are going to get hampered because of the companies directly selling to the consumers, or because of the e-commerce websites. So, and the company, like they themselves are hurting, or they themselves are like bringing loss to the retailers and the wholesalers in their supply chain.
No, I beg to differ here, Twinkle. What happens is, even though you go to a website and click on that, the supplier who supplies this particular one packet of Sunfeast to you will be the retailer only. Whatever the discount that you're getting, 20%, that will be passed on to the retailer by the company. So company uses its retail distribution to supply to ensure that orders are getting fulfilled. So they will not have their own separate supply chain. They use their traditional supply chain, which is there. So for example, you're sitting in Hyderabad for example, you're in Amirpet. So what the company does is, when someone at Amirpet goes to the website and click that he wants one packet of this thing, what it does is it relays that information to the nearby retail outlet, traditional outlet, and that person comes to your doorstep and drops your biscuit packet. That's how it tries to take advantage of that the distribution arm that it has. Okay, so that is not going to hurt the because the company's the main spinal cord for the company is the distribution network. So they will not do anything to hurt that distribution network. And even though I'm coming from FMCG, even though, see, for example, like any company, for example, Reliance. I worked in PepsiCo. Reliance was ready to take all the Pepsi which gets manufactured in a day at all the locations. But company has restrictions, because Reliance will try to ask for a discount of almost like as high as 40 to 50%. That is because the Reliance, if they try in bulk, they'll get the discount, and they go to the market and destroy the market. And that will be what you call death of the retail outlets. So what the company do is, they put a restriction on the amount of material which can be supplied, the stock that can be supplied to these retail outlets. So it will be like 5% or 6% of the total monthly volume goes to retail outlets, and they have a restriction there in order to take care of the traditional retail outlets.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a small doubt regarding we can know it is a basic one that like traditional supply chain management, and now the companies are going into the integrated supply chain.
Yeah.
What's the main benefit for the company for using the integrated supply chain?
It's basically cost, because of cost. For example, if you're not integrated, if you're not backward integrated or forward integrated, what happens is any of the supplier, for example, I'll take the case of ITC. If ITC is backward integrated, for example, its biscuits packet, the wrapper and the cardboard, the carton box in which it is packed, it comes from this ITC, same ITC paper only. Okay, so if the ITC doesn't have that paper, what happens? It has to buy from one of the suppliers. The supplier will have a margin for that. Okay, he has to take his own margin and his cost. That is where the input cost increases. So in order to overcome that, the company are trying to do a backward integration, so that the whatever the price, only the COGS, at the COGS, the cost of goods sold, at that price only the companies are able to procure those raw materials, and the same can be utilized to ensure that the product is manufactured at low cost, and it is given to the consumer at low cost. That's the reason why they're going for integration, so that the cost can be kept low in the value chain.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question. Sorry. Sorry, what was your name?
Devi Kumar, sir.
Devi Kumar again, sure.
Yes, sir.
So team, please feel free to ask any questions, please. Anything out of the blue.
Yes, sir. So participants are requested to ask question, may be related to their career, supply chain management, or you can even ask about FMCG or any other sector. So platform is quite open.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So this is Mohan. I would like to ask a question. It might be a hypothetical question, but have gone through a case study about supply chain management. So it's all about wholesale marketing. So if you say that like DMart, DMart has a spare area of where the majority of the people near to the DMart or away from the DMart are willing to come to the DMart to buy the products, especially for the home needs and other purposes. And it is going to affect nearly a 5 kilometers square area where the customers are going to keen for the only for the DMart area, not for the retail shops or a supermarket. What if there is no limit for the wholesale shops like this, like DMarts, across the cities? There might be a severe problem might be issued for the retail shops and supermarkets. Is there any something like limit for this wholesale shops not to expand further? I can see only one DMart in Vizag. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good question there. So see, it has to be, this particular policy has to be well within the company itself. For example, see, most of the companies, why they prefer this modern trade chains is that they can sell them to them in bulk, and their cost, whatever the asset, the amount or the money that is invested in that particular stock gets realized as soon as possible, so that the cash to stock to cash cycle gets reduced. That is one of the reasons why the companies prefer this modern trade chains, because they buy in bulk and they are ready to offer that discount, so that their money is not held up in that inventory. That is one of the reasons. And as you were rightly saying, this particular model of DMart is affecting their local retail outlets. Yes, that is true. And the reason why it is people go to DMart, for example, as I was selling to Twinkle also, people prefer to go to DMart because everything is available at that location. Okay, if I go there, I'd get to spend some quality time, because the kids are taken care by this the environment that is there, basically the games or the other things which are there, and they get everything they want. All the rations which are to be bought for the month, they can buy at one place and in one day of the month. That's the reason why DMarts or the Ratnadeeps are being preferred over the retail, the classic or the traditional retail outlets. But as you rightly said, the limits are there. How much stock should be supplied to that particular DMart? So much of quantity has to be supplied, so that the retail outlets, the traditional retail outlets, doesn't suffer. Is a part of the company policy. Mind you, all the companies are having that policy. Okay, so that, because if you're relying on DMart today, he might not help you in the months to come. Okay, a demand is always a backup plan for the FMCG companies, or for that matter any other textile company as well. So it is only a backup plan. It will not hurt the traditional backbone of the traditional distribution arm and supply to demands. It's only within the limit that companies are trying to supply to these demands. That is the reason why sometimes you see the stockouts in the particular retail outlet chains.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Any other question, participants?
So one more question. This is not a question, but I am into the marketing and operations. So I want to learn more about case studies regarding operations and the stuff, which is really interesting one. So can you suggest me any websites or any books that makes me to learn more about case studies which is related to the operations and what are the problems that has been facing in the operations and supply and logistics?
I don't have a ready-made answer for this, but the thing is, there are plethora of what do you call content on the internet. Okay, so I can suggest one SCM dojo, which SCM dojo, basically. He is one guy who has a lot of. He has a website where he has put all these particular content related to supply chain, basically supply chain and operations. He's a very good guy, and you can find him on LinkedIn. Okay, his name is Mudassir Ahmad. Okay, so he does a blogs. He does some blogs by the name Mudassirism. Okay, I'm not able to pronounce it properly, but the thing is that is called Mudassirism, and you can find him on LinkedIn. So it's one of the good guys to follow, at least from a supply chain point of view, and he has very good content there. He's one of the top 10 supply chain influencers on LinkedIn. Okay. Apart from that, you can go to any university website. You can look at a lot of research papers, and most of the you can also visit MIT website where some of the research content is kept open for the people, and even IITs. IIT website also has kept a lot of research content there. If you have time, you can go through that, and you can download and read it at your own comfort.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure, but that's a good thing. So you need to keep abreast with the latest technologies. So if you're not what do you call getting yourself accustomed with the latest technologies, you will become redundant in a decade or something. Okay, so you will be easily replaceable in this particular supply chain in industry called supply chain 4. So you need to keep yourselves updated about the technologies and ensure that you are understanding the latest trends that are also coming and what are the softwares that are available. You need to know all these digital trends which are there in the space called SCM, supply chain. Not only supply chain in any field.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sure. You have to be a student for life. That's what that is the crux of it.
Okay, so sir, I think like the way you have explained everything, so no one has any doubt. So the last question I would like to ask you on behalf of all the MBA students present here is, as you already mentioned, that FMCG is a really attractive sector which is growing at a rate of 23.15%. So given this scenario, how we are here from different backgrounds, from marketing, operations, finance, human resource. So how, like, what does Tata as a company looks for when recruiting students from campus? Like how we can be a perfect for Tata?
See, not only for Tata, any other company which looks for is the person, when they want to recruit someone, they want to see how much value he is going to add to the company. Okay, so any company looks to see that they don't want to take a person whom they have to train. Of course, they do the training. Of course, he should have the appetite to get trained, and also the attitude and aptitude should be there in that person. Those are the two things which companies looks for, uh, and also that he has to fit into the culture of the company as well. So the kind of interview questions, when the companies come to the campus and they ask some specific questions, there is a reason behind that. They try to understand what is your attitude or your attitude towards that particular problem, real life problem which is thrown at you, and also how are you going to solve that. And basis that they will be able to judge the people and they will recruit the people. They want people who can add value to the company. That's the foremost thing which they look at. Okay, and given that, like there are a lot of company, there are a lot of B schools in the country. Obviously, like company tries to get a good resource at the minimum cost. So that's one more premise which I have to tell you. So we need to ensure that we have to be properly prepared for the whatever the companies which are coming for and give you a best shot.
Thank you, sir. We'll keep that in mind.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So, So to summarize the whole event, so today's webinar gave us some deep insights into the topic, and I'm pretty sure that this precious knowledge shared by Mr. Reddy will definitely help us in our studies and future. So Mr. Reddy started from talking about what is FMCG, where he mentioned the growing rate, or I can say that the FMCG is growing at a rate of 23.15%, and the next best sector after FMCG is the rural FMCG. He also mentioned about the supply chain management, how supply chain management helps in cost efficiency, also make sure that the product is available on shelf and condenses the lead time. He also mentioned about the impact of external factors and how they plan and forecast while the demand during these seasons. And he also mentioned the one and the very important line that supply chain management makes sure that the right product is available at the right time and at the right place. So taking all these learnings with us, now I would like to express my vote of thanks on behalf of Geetam Institute of Management. I would like to express my gratitude to our guest, Mr. Raipati Srinath Reddy, to take out time from his busy schedule to grace our event. Thank you, sir, for sharing deep insights about supply chain management. I would like to extend my gratitude to our director, Gautam Rao, for joining us. A special thanks to Mr. Venkatesh Varulu, sir, for organizing this event. And also thank you for all the students and faculties present here for paying your attention and learning. I would end my speech here. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Twinkle. That was brilliant. So just before I sign off, I just wanted to make sure that I give my coordinates so that at any point of time you have anything, be it personal or anything related to your academic, you can just reach out to me. It's my email ID is my full name. It's basically rayapati.srinathreddy@gmail.com. So you have any doubts. Now I know that at this point of time you might not be having any doubts, but in future if you have anything, you can just feel free to knock or send an email to me, and I will be able to reply back. Might not be at the same instant, but might take 1 or 2 days to reply back, but I'll surely reply back. And that's about my coordinates. And all the best to all the students. It has been a brilliant session for myself, and I have given such lecture. I've given that such sessions at different institutes, but this is one of the enthusiastic crowd that I could come across. So thanks for being very patient, and also you were very inquisitive in learning or knowing about supply chain. Even though I don't know how much justice I have done with the time that I have for 1 hour. So even though I was trying to touch upon the concepts or the basics of FMCG and supply chain, but there is a lot we can do in terms of this B2B technologies which are employed in FMCG sector currently. So love to come back, and all the best for your placement season and also for your academics. Okay, with that, I am planning to sign off. So thanks a lot, Dr. Venkateshwarlu, for actually giving me this opportunity and also coordinating for the event for this. And thanks, Twinkle, for that brilliant vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. It's our pleasure, sir.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.